Well, our panel discussion titled Experience as Strategy, Designing the Employee Journey of Tomorrow Today. So first up, I'd like to invite our speakers on stage. We need all your attention towards the stage. Let's put our hands together to spearhead this conversation. Let's welcome Ms. Urvashi Singh, Senior Vice President, HR, Genpact Limited. Let's give a big round of applause. A very warm welcome. Also joining us is Mr. Uttam Lal, Director, Personnel at NHPC Limited. A very warm welcome, sir. Also joining us is Mr. Vinod Kumar Padmanabhan, Head of Growth of India, Spire.ai. A very warm welcome. Also put your hands together for Ms. Atreyi Sanyal, Chief People Officer at Tata Steel Group. A very warm welcome, ma'am. And also let's welcome Mr. Anish Singh, Founder at All Things People. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And we're looking forward to this panel segment. Over to you, Mr. Urvashi.
Thank you, and a very good afternoon to all of you. We are starting on time, and first of all, I'd like to welcome all our panelists, and we look forward to an engaging discussion. We have an interesting topic today. It's driving employee experience and looking at employee experience as a strategic lever. It's a well-debated topic, and more organizations are looking at employee experience as a strategic lever, driving productivity, profitability, retention, engagement, and all the good stuff that comes with it. More and more, the narrative is changing from just driving engagement to driving employee experience. Engagement being more of an output metric, and experience really the ecosystem that goes behind driving employee engagement. There's an interesting Gallup study which was done, which showed that only 21% of employees that work today actually engage productively and are happy in the organizations that work. As HR folks, we'd love that number to be higher, but that's what the numbers show. It also shows that if all people actually have positive rates of engagement, there would be a $9.6 trillion US impact on the economy. Now, employee engagement experience is undergoing a sea change. There's a repivot which is happening on how organizations are driving it, primarily getting driven by several factors, including a greater impetus on multi-generational workforce, the huge infusion of technology, AI, and how you can drive employee experience across with scale. It's also about changing dynamics around how we run as organizations in a very, very disruptive world where several organizations are seeing disruptions of various types, be these geopolitical disruptions to disruptions in business models, different types of workforce entering organizations. So it's a very, very interesting topic and a very pertinent one. Now, before we delve into the topic, I would like to introduce my panelists. We have a real fascinating panel and some really fun panelists. So I'm going to introduce them, and maybe some of you can guess who they are. But our first panelist has work locations spanning from frozen glacial lakes and townships, some of them consisting of bunkers. And if you've guessed it right, it's Mr. Uttam Lal, who's the Director Personnel, NHPC Limited. Our next panelist is actually a state-level player for table tennis, and in his own words, he likes jing-bang modern music, and that is Mr. Vinod Kumar Padmanabhan, who's the Head of Growth for India for Spire. Our third panelist has some very interesting stories and is an owner of a husky and has lived with neighbors in houses who have World War tunnels going beneath their houses. And if you've guessed it right, it is Atreyi Sanyal, who's the Chief People Officer for Tata Steel. And last but not the least, we've got Anish Singh, who's the founder for All Things People, and he's a state-level badminton player and loves to sing Kishore Kumar songs. And if you catch him in a break, you can ask him to sing. All right, so we'll start, Atre, with you. And my first question to you is, how should employee experience strategies adapt during periods of organizational stress, like transformation, changing business needs? So how are you really looking at it as a strategic lever?
Thank you, Urvashi, and thanks for inviting all of us on this topic. Experience and steel industry. Well, I really have to paint the canvas. Tata Steel, as many of you know, is a company 78,000 strong, with more than 200,000 people who are contract workforce, in addition to our own people, spreading across 5 to 6 geographies, more than 30 to 35 sites within the country in India. My role, of course, right from Canada to Southeast Asia, but largely India. So delving into experience and the subject of experience in transforming times is something that is to be seen to be believed. Why so? Because steel industry is cyclical, because the UK organization is cutting down 3,000 people because they're closing down blast furnaces. Netherlands, in spite of having an AQI of 30 compared to Delhi being 200 plus, nobody wants a steel industry, and yet it's one of the largest employer. And India, being one of the most profitable, has to become leaner, sharper, hungrier for growth. So that's the canvas of where we operate. Also, it's very important to know that in the past 2 to 3 years, there have been 10 companies that have merged into us, into one company. There have been 5 major acquisitions from different cultures, which has happened. And there are pressures of labor code and the contract workforce whom we consider as our own. So when I talk about experience, it is in this parlance, and many of you might identify it, it's very different from disruption. Disruption is about making the ship fly, and suddenly the automotive industry has become Uberized. That's disruption. Transformation is making the ship turn around in a direction at a speed which is double of what it was sailing at. That's transformation. And in such times, to hold on to experience is something that, is challenging is not a word that can be used for it. But some of the principles that really help in transformation, being equity, that means when you are transforming, please be equitable about what you want to lay down in front of people, and from different cultures, the Dutch culture to the UK culture to the Indian culture. We just had a very inspiring speaker. Human needs are the same. Okay, and why is it that younger people in this room got equally inspired like the older people by hearing the last speech? It's because it touches, the emotions are the same. And therefore, experience, when you go along, what enables experience is a different thing. It can be tech, it can be actual behavior, but the principles of experience need to be same all across. The second thing is, experience is always about the rubber hitting the road. And you can talk of lofty things, you can talk about your values, your principles, etc. It's about when you walk into the office every day, what is that DNA and that culture that's hitting you time and again. And I think at such times, it is the leader showing up authentically. And I'll just add a little bit to that inspiring speech, is that how is it that the leader projects himself, herself, themselves on the spot every day. One addition, especially when nobody is watching. Because that's when you become the leader that people really know that I observed her on the street with so many people and she was behaving the same. So authenticity about how you uphold the values when nobody is watching during transformation also is an experience. And of course, the very own experience gurus keep telling that it's about how is it that you treat people pre-employment to post-retirement and not hire to fire, you know, or hire to retire. So it is about handling all the cycles with a sense of authenticity, sense of equity, sense of uniformity, empathy, firmness, as well as being allegiant to your values that you uphold in life. I think that's what, even in the toughest transformation, holds good, and tech, we'll talk about it later, is what helps.
Thanks, Atreyan. That's so true. Applying uniform principles for employee experience and employee needs being pretty common across. And that's a great segue to my next question, Uttam, for you. You come from a very fascinating worker landscape that you need to manage across various locations across the country. How are you seeing employee experience expectations changing in the workforce that you manage over the time you've been managing it?
Thank you, Urvashi. सबसे पहले आप सभी को मेरा नमस्ते, and thanks CII for at least I'm having a chance to share the experience of our company. My product is well known. It is everywhere. Wherever you go, my product is there, or it is before you, it is there in your pocket, on your headphones. बिजली कहलाती है. But it's very sensitive, very agile. भूल के भी टच मत कीजिएगा, नहीं तो जोर का झटका धीरे से देती है. So we are in the power sector, and I have the opportunity of working a very small stint in a private sector in Mumbai once when I passed out in '88. But since '90, I am in power sector, NTPC for a long time. That was a thermal company, and then NHPC. NHPC, as you said, that we are at the borders. You name it, we are there. You tell Rajasthan, we are there with solar. NHPC is now not only a hydro, it's a NHPC. In solar, we are in Rajasthan. In wind, we are there. And in majority, we are in hydro, about more than 8,300 megawatts. And we are growing very fast. As you said, Urvashi, that generally we induct the employee at a very initial level. We used to call trainee officers, trainee engineers. And the punchline we used to say that you come and join us for nation building with global commitment. Why it is global commitment? As we have already committed that by 2030 we'll be net zero. And I like to inform you that India has achieved the balance of thermal and renewable. Now hydro, solar, wind and all other things are in renewable. So now the renewable energy is 51%. 140 megawatt is the capacity of India. And as far as hydro is concerned or renewable is concerned, and we have reached only up to 43. So there is a big gap. So once an employee joins us, we have a very excellent induction training. And my people, they used to face the GLOF, that is glacial lake outburst flood. Many times we are at a point, now it is at minus 25 in Leh and Ladakh, but they are playing ice hockey, ice skating. Only thing, they have to acclimatize. And these experience, these are something beyond the world experience. Even I had been to line of control because I did my CSR over there. And once I saw the line of control, जो कि हम daily paper में पढ़ते हैं, you are at the enemy target 200 meter away. It is clearly written over there. जब आप वहाँ जाते हैं तो you are charged up. And that experience, मतलब मैं बोल नहीं सकता, बता नहीं सकता how you feel that you are serving to your country, you are generating power. Leh and Ladakh, you go in Leh and Ladakh, they have a very high regard for hydro sector because before that, Leh and Ladakh was completely dependent upon DGs. रात में 4 घंटे DG चलते थे, it pollutes the environment. Now I am having 100 megawatts with 2 plants. The problem we face, वो भी आपको share करना चाहूँगा, it's oxygen depleted. The atmospheric oxygen is having 40% less O2 molecules. आप जब भी जाएं, careful जाएं, अगर घूमने जाएं, लोग घूमने आते हैं, हम वहाँ रहते हैं. When the army stays for 1 year, my boy stays for 2 years. और उससे ज़्यादा करने पे आपने गजनी देखा है ना? Short term memory loss, वो भी होता है. So हम उनको योगा, दिस इज़ पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ ट्रेनिंग, वेरी इनिशियल ट्रेनिंग, एंड हमारा भी बीच में होता है. डिफेंस ट्रेनिंग हम कराते हैं, बिकॉज एज यू सेड बंकर्स. सो वी फेस जनरली हमारे जो JNK में एट बॉर्डर्स हैं वहाँ पे आ जाते हैं, प्रसाद मिलते रहता है, विच वी यूज टू कॉल राउंड्स. So the boys, the families, they are trained, they rush to the bunkers, and during this Operation Sindoor, the Indian Army, they use one of our tunnels, and our employees and their families, they are in one of the other tunnels, because my township was target. Generally the target is dam, आप dam उड़ा दो, power बंद. So this is one of the training. दूसरा, or each and every employee or trainee or the contractual labor, we don't leave even contractual labor, they are all trained in basic life support, and I am trained by American Association. वो आपने एयरपोर्ट्स पे देखा हो, that red machine is that is nothing but pacemaker. तो वो भी हम अपने लोगों को ट्रेन करके रखते हैं कि इफ़ रिक्वायर्ड आप कहीं भी, आजकल आप पढ़ते होंगे जिम में गिर गया, नो वन वाज देयर टू डू CPR, माउथ टू माउथ रेस्पिरेशन. तो ऐसी कई चीज़ें हैं, लाइफ सेविंग थिंग्स हैं, सिखाती हैं. बट मैम, आई फेस क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम जेन जी. सपोज इन रंगीत इज़ अ प्लेस इन सिक्किम, अ ब्यूटीफुल प्लेस. जब आप पहुंच जाएंगे ना, तो वो सुहाना सफ़र, ये मौसम हंसी, आप गाना गाएंगे वहाँ जाके, लेकिन पहुंचना बड़ा टफ है. और वहाँ पर आंध्रा की बच्ची आई थी HR में. आई आस्क्ड हर, आई वाज सरप्राइज्ड कि अ गर्ल फ्रॉम हैदराबाद, सी आई आस्क्ड व्हाई यू आर हियर, बताओ मेरे को रीज़न क्या है, तुम एज ए HR ऑफिसर आई. सी सेड, सर आई एंजॉय एडवेंचर. तो हमने फिर उसके लिए एडवेंचर कैंप्स के भी बनाए हैं. बट देयर इज़ अ रूल, इफ़ यू गो फॉर ट्रेकिंग, टेल मी वेयर आर यू गोइंग, एंट्री करो, आउट करो, क्योंकि कभी कभी एक्सीडेंट भी हो सकते हैं. सो दीज आर द थिंग्स बाई विच वी क्रिएट एक्साइटमेंट फॉर द यंग जनरेशन. बट स्टिल वो ये कहते हैं कि एक मॉल बना दो, वो मैं नहीं बना पाता हूँ. सो इस तरह की चैलेंजेस वी फेस इट. बट येस, वंस दे थिंक दैट दे आर इन ए नेशन बिल्डिंग, जब आपके सामने एक डैम खड़ा होता है और बिजली निकलती है ना सर, उसका जो कहते हैं कि हिंदी में आनंद कहते हैं, उसका नशा ही कुछ और है. सो वी यूज टू से कि अगर डैम बनाना है तो यू शुड बी पैशनेट. हिंदी में लोग कहते हैं कि जुनून हो तो आइए, ना तो ना आइए.
That's so true, because passion and purpose are certain things that drive across generations, and you don't really see a change despite different decades in that. So it's fascinating that you're able to provide both. So moving on, Vinod, I'll move to you. You're pretty much at the frontier of tech transformation. So tell us, how do you view this as an organization in terms of driving consistency of employee experience across different parts of the workforce, be it the gig workforce, contractors, full-time employees? How does technology, or your technology, how is it enabling that consistency across the chain?
Thank you, Urvashi. Good morning, everyone. Wonderful, and my privilege to be a part of this panel. And thank you, CII, for this opportunity. A brief introduction about Spire. Spire is a deep tech company working with cutting-edge technologies like the large graph model. We have pioneered the large graph model, which is helping organizations to understand autonomously the skills and the capabilities, both today and the emerging future of work, and trying to help them to navigate this huge challenge of talent transformation. Now, coming back to this question about future of work, different cohorts of employees, and consistent experience. Based on the work that we do and from the front lines, what I believe is that the walls that separate the different cohorts of employees are sort of kind of vanishing or getting dissolved. And it doesn't matter today if it's a gig worker or an apprentice or an intern or a permanent employee, they all have the same expectation. What's the value that you're going to add to me? And the contract has become this expectation. And from an experience standpoint, you need to deliver consistently against this particular thing. And that has become a global expectation. So this employee experience is not the perk of any category of employee. It has become a universal expectation. Now coming to this consistency. Consistency does not mean the same journey for every category of employees. It means a same fairness, same clarity, and same kind of respect for individual capabilities. Now, to drive this consistency across different cohorts of fluid talents that we have today, there are some fundamental shifts that need to happen in the operating model. I'm primarily bringing the perspective from a technology standpoint. The first shift is the move from roles to skills. Many leaders yesterday spoke about it, the need to look at skills more kind of in a much more focused way. Now, if every individual, irrespective of their payroll code, you view them to the lens of sort of skills, it brings conformity. It brings the transparency that this is what you bring and this is where you can go. That's the first shift. The second one which we see is that workflows need to shift to growth signals. Today, if you look at anybody, the logistic friction that probably the employee expect, now that has become removing that has become a table stake. Now, if you have logistical friction, the new generation employees will say as an organizational dysfunction. While if it is there, it needs to be addressed, that's not going to provide or move the needle when it comes to satisfaction or employee experience. To drive employee experience, you need to start looking at making them relevant. So start looking at the growth signals, and every sort of interaction should signal to the employee, irrespective of category, that we value your future. That's the second shift. The third thing that we are clearly seeing is relevance has become the only job security that matters. Work, we saw again, most of the speaker talking about the work and the task within the work changing at a drastic pace. So that relevance, how do you bring relevance for a gig worker? How do you value the work and the skills? For an apprentice or an intern, what is the growth path? For a permanent employee, what are the roles that can be done? So these are the shifts that are very important from an operating model. Now, while these shifts sounds very simple, as most of you can appreciate, it's very complex. And it sits in the intersection of skills, individual aspiration, and evolving work and whatnot. Now, to do it manually, it will be very, very difficult. And this is where you need to leverage the modern AI technology, like large graph models, which will help you to understand the skills that are required autonomously, let the employees understand their skill set, find out what are the roles that are there, what is the future of role, and provide them personalized learning path. All these things that I spoke about exist today and can be delivered today. So what we see is forward-looking organizations have started looking at leveraging this technology to provide personal insights so that it will free up space for the leaders and managers to start looking at, providing meaning and human connection that I think the leaders here spoke about. So with the right blend, right balance, you can create an experience that is more efficient and empathetic, and that is what we are seeing leading organizations doing it. So to sum up, irrespective of category of the employment, the employees will stay if they find that we are relevant for their future.
Thanks, Vinod. And that's so true, because more and more we see that employee growth is becoming such a key tenet of employee experience. And the entire movement from talking roles and jobs to individuals to making it more of a skill and a relevance discussion is so core to overall employee experience. So thank you for providing that perspective. Anish, moving to you now, and you made an interesting shift from being a practitioner to now running your own startup and creating your own product in the HR space. Talk to us about how you see technology getting implemented across different organizations in the space of HR, and what are the preparations that organizations need to do before investing in technology to drive better people outcomes?
Yeah. So thank you. And so it's a deep and very, very interesting question. So good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody on the dais here. I think to start with, I would really say two things. One is employee experience. We often, and as a HR practitioner, I will say that we think about engagement and employee experience, but eventually any employee spending 8 hours or 10 hours or maybe 8 hours in a day in the office. Otherwise, I'm getting into a discussion of 70 hours or others, so I'll stop there. It is not only about the engagement. What's the experience really there in terms of day-to-day life, decision-making really taking place, processes are there, and so on and so forth. And then from a technology point of view, we often think, and that's a myth is really there, is that one size fits all. So there is a technology, you really come and plug and play, and it really works. Sometimes can work, but sometimes it can misfire as well, right? And hence, it's very important really to really think is that how do you really think customer backward problem, what you're trying to solve for, whether it is individually you want to look at it in terms of really giving the career growth, or any of the business or any of the people metrics you want to really focus upon, I think. So I think some of the things which we really see in the practice, and this is just about a 2 years experience has been really there, is that you look at first redesigning the experience rather than the process. Right, so that's the first part I would really say. And I would really say that there is a lot of wisdom, and you can listen to your customers, consumers all the time and solve the problem. If you're listening very deeply to your employees, and mind you, employees are a very active stakeholder or shareholder for your company. They are not passive, right? And they're very active, and there's a lot of wisdom there. And if you ask questions deeply and really, and also you don't have to really boil the ocean all the time, but you ask what you want to really solve for, there's a lot of wisdom can really come in. And I can give you examples like this, is that really happens that, imagine if you're tapping employee's voice and you're solving problem for reducing food wastage in a restaurant chain. Listening to employees and solving for, of course, our KPIs, one of the KPIs is reducing attrition. Listening to employees and making sure that in automobile company, because they are under tremendous pressure to really bring the new motorcycles all the time because the EVs are already coming, your new product development coming on time. And when it doesn't come on time, there's a lot of cost depletion. And some of these things, when it really takes place, then you actually start really looking at in terms of things are really moving in the right direction, and the engagement levels automatically starts really moving up. So that's one. Second thing I'll talk about is that there has to be fundamental things around the trying to really use new technology, and also really gaining the voices through psychological safety. And if that is being really built fundamentally, then you really get a lot of wisdom there as well, right? So, I mean, and for example, is that there are, of course, the technology transformation really takes place. One step you go and 2 steps you come back. But you need to really be at it and really see that how it's really taking over, and then setting some milestones around it really helps as well. Third, the most important point, which I would really say, is that cross-functional things. And again, I'm taking example of engagement. Engagement survey comes, usually it is with the HR team and leadership team. And objective is really, and the expectation is really to drive things. But as we know, people join organization, leave managers, enough things have been really written. And through technology, actually you can really bring that data point for that unit. Let's say Urvashi is our manager right here, and then we get to show that what is in her unit, what is really showing. Then employee, and then actions really taken, then employee experience starts really becoming much more dearer, I would really say. And last but not least, I would really say that obviously everybody talks about is leadership modeling. And since the technology, you really asked the question, I always go, and a lot of people, whenever the leadership team meeting really takes place, and maybe you could really answer this as well, we talk about all the time AI, ChatGPT and things like that. Simple question to ask, okay, how many of you have really done the prompt engineering training? Yeah. So things like that, unless until you don't really look at some of these aspects, role modeling really doesn't really come. That doesn't really replace. So those are the things I would already say. So maybe just recap, redesign the experience, then the process. Second is more on in terms of the culture of psychological safety. Third is the cross-functional teams, and then giving the empowerment to the line manager, middle management, because they are the engine in the organization. When they move together, then the organizations move. And third is the leadership role modeling.
Thanks, Anish. And indeed, listening to employees and listening deeply, it's so important as a first step in designing any unit system or practice. Atre, I'm going to come to you now, and we spoke a lot about employee experience being and how that can be leveraged as a strategic lever. Tell me, what are the support structures and building blocks you are building to drive that in terms of either an organization model change or creating employee experience as a key metric where everyone's really serious about it?
Thanks, Urvashi. So a few things, and I'm just thinking about how engagement and experience plays out and the role of the manager. Firstly, I'll just want to touch upon a few things, that a disengaged manager cannot be engaging in good experience with people, okay? You cannot say that, मेरा तो कुछ नहीं होगा, तुम्हारा भी तुम सोच लो इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में तुम्हारा क्या होने वाला है, okay? Those are not the kind of managers that you need. So it is the important task of leaders to identify managers who are disengaged and managers who are harbingers of negative experience across the organizations. If you're not doing that as leaders, you have not coached and mentored your second level leaders well. That's one key enabler to experience. The second thing is listening. Listen and silent have the same alphabets, right? One particular capability of every individual who has even one person reporting or two people they are working with is to listen and empower yourselves with the inputs that you're getting from across the table. Third is, of course, how are you organized and structured in the organization? Does your HR organization see experience to be held as softwares that are deployed? All of us have to live with pieces and blocks of softwares for various parts of the processes, right? Don't be worried about it, because it is a journey of evolution. There is going to be somebody else who's going to come back and try to sell you an all-encompassive platform, but sometimes it works best to have different pieces across the process, live with it. What matters is any part of the employee journey you are leaving out, okay? We often tend to think of recruitment, onboarding, etc. We talk of engagement, etc. But we leave out some very critical parts of engagement and experience, which is career. You know, and that's where I think we have done well. If you would like to try it out, you can. We have a talent marketplace wherein you might be belonging to HR, but you want to do a procurement role and you have a project to do together, then that's what you are embodied to experience. So various things for various people, running out of time, so I won't go further, but always remember, employee is a consumer. If you are the marketer, you have to believe in your product, which is the organization and its process and its culture. And the consumer, the employee, will only see what you believe in. So that's the simple tip to experience.
Thanks, Atre. Uttam, coming to you, can you engage your employees quite significantly in community initiatives as a big lever for employee experience? Can you share with us one or two top practices that you use consistently across the country on community and employees getting engaged in that?
Yeah, as far as community development, we have a structured CSR that is as per the Companies Act 135, Schedule 7. But generally, the majority of the that average of the three net profit 2%, that is the minimum. But generally, being a CPSC, we go far beyond it. And a few examples I can quote from Arunachal. Arunachal, it's a matriarchal society. And generally, the three major livelihood is, one is cocoon farming, one is the further upgradation is rayon, and third is piggery. Earlier, there was it was not they have a separate family unit, so we make a cooperative over there. Then we built a board over there with our CSR team, and the results are fantastic. It just doubled their earning. Now the women folks of the local women folks, not my engineers and my officers, they have set up their board, they have their own board meetings, and we do take the help of Irma Anand, and there is a product called SAAR. If you ever visit Arunachal or go to that particular place, you will see the clothes. Similarly, in Jammu and Kashmir, Turtuk is a place which we took in 1971. There, the total employees, that place is called Baltistan because Balti is a language. And the women folks are very enterprising, and we set up a complete stitching school. We set up machine looms, and Usha come to know, Usha's machines. They joined hand with us. Their trainer, I think, came from Mumbai. So we are trying to make a value chain because, as you said, society or community, generally our aim is to make it sustainable. वो नहीं है कि मैं उसको आटा दे दिया, मैं उसको रोटी बनाना सिखा देता हूँ, and then we gradually we remove कि now you are on your own. And as far as my employees are concerned, we have a structured policy. If you want to go for a community development work, we used to call it Sahyog. आप जाएं, आप you inform your boss, कहीं भी it should not affect, and you go for volunteer. And if you do something well, we used to honor them on our raising day. Similarly, for our employees' kids and their families members, we all prayas. So if they wish, we as a facilitator, if you want to go, there are many good things. One is Manobal, Cheshire, old age homes. And similarly, if a newcomer joins, so in our training module, we have that generally we send them to a community development. एक आपको लाइव एग्जांपल बता देता हूँ. Many young guys, आजकल लड़कियाँ बहुत ज़्यादा आती हैं, बिकॉज लड़कियाँ पढ़ने में तेज होती हैं, बहन बहुत सारी बैठी हुई हैं. तो जनरली, एंड हमारे यहाँ ऐसा कोई ये नहीं है. इन माई HR, the 60% this time girls are there and 40% boys, and they are all working at different locations. So उनको हमने भेजा both team को go to old age homes. And when they came back, a few of them said कि साहब हम अपने parents को तो ना छोड़ेंगे. तो इस तरह से हमने कम्युनिटी किया. और दो चीज़ और मैं भूल गया था आपको बताऊं. हमने कुछ ऐसे यूनिक मेजर्स लिए, हो सकता है कई जगह हों, बट आई थिंक CPSEs में अभी तक नहीं है, स्पेशली फॉर विमेन फॉक्स. हमने एक पिंक लीव रखा है उनके लिए, एवरी मंथ 1 day. इफ़ दे गेट मैरिड, कंसीव, देन मातृत्व रखा है, टिल दे वांट टू वर्क. उनको पूरा फैसिलिटी हम दे देते हैं. कट फ्रूट, वॉट एवर दे वॉन्ट टू टेक, कुशन टेबल, फ़ोटो लगाना है, जैसे सजाना है अपना रूम सजा लो. देन मैटरनिटी लीव आ जाता है. तो इस तरह की चीज़ें हमने वुमेन फॉक्स को भी दे के रखा है.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Uttam, for sharing those. Those are some really interesting practices and really shows the human centricity. Quickly, Vinod, I know we're almost on the top of the hour. What are you seeing as the next frontier on tech transformation in the HR domain?
Well, as an AI enthusiast, I refer tech. When we talk about tech, I will limit that to AI. I think in the next frontier, we would not see more technology and more AI. We will see technology that sort of disappear into the human experience. Let me take an example and tell you how it will be. Uttam talked about electricity. Now, electricity is a GPT or general purpose technology, similar to AI, what it is. Today, if you look at, do we think about electricity, like we said, if you touch it, you will know about it, but we take it for granted, and we only think about it when it is not there, right? I think AI will become similar to that. It will become a kind of, it will dissolve into the experience, and it will become a human, an invisible advisor. And coming to the experience standpoint, I believe that employees will not go to the system, but the system will understand the context and tell you what is right at the right time without being asked for. Now, from the vantage point of where we sit at Spyware, we're doing some cutting edge work around skills and domain intelligence. We see this experience frontier in sort of 3 frames, connected frames in 3 horizons. If I come to the first frame, which is the short term, I believe that skill intelligence will become the OS or the operating system of the new talent model. That is going to happen. I think it will happen. I mean, it's already, the journey has started. Some of the organizations here have already embraced it. But that would mean that, the system will start looking at the roles, current roles, and the future roles, which are AI plus human, that we had a lot of discussion yesterday about. It will automatically start looking at the roles, understand what are the skills required, help the employees to understand their skills and their capability stack, and connect that with the projects and various industries. Now, it will not recommend just the training. It will start recommending, saying that, for instance, the project that you have done, Alpha, has developed the capabilities for a new role that is coming in the sustainability department. And this is a micro project for you to bridge that gap. Now, that's the level of, autonomous kind of analysis and suggestions that we are talking about. So that's the first frame as we see it. Now, coming to the second frame, which is sort of the midterm one, where we see the systems moving towards a sort of predictive personalization and nudges for growth and well-being. Let me again cite an example there. Just imagine if the system sort of looks at all the work that is being done within the boundary, ethical boundary, and start recommending or nudging to the manager that we see this sort of your team rhythm sort of changing, and we find that the 3 people have sustained focus without any breaks. So probably there is a good time for you to recommend recommending a pause to them so that they don't have the burnouts. One example. The second example, like the employee is getting the nudges saying that you have developed this particular skill, and these are the two internal mentors that you can connect with this week in line with your career growth. Now, recently I had an experience that I upgraded my software in my car, and I was doing a long drive. And I was surprised to find that it gave me a warning or kind of a nudge saying that you should take it. I was driving for a long time with quite a bit of speed. And it gave me a nudge saying that please take a break, a coffee break or a leg stretching break. So I think this is happening in other walks, and it is but natural that it will come into the realm. The third frame, which is slightly long-termish, is where we will see the operating model adopting immersive technologies for experience and empathy. As we talk, I can tell you that models are being built for experience prototyping and empathy scaling. Now, just a couple of use cases there. Just imagine that before you roll out a process or a policy, you have an ability to test that in a simulated environment and understand the employee experience and get feedback. Another use case will be a leader can walk into the day in the life of a frontline employee in a different geography or a country and understand the nuances. So these are very powerful, and it will enable you to create an experience and empathy that is unprecedented so far. Now, these are not fantasies. You have technologies that are available today which can make it happen. What is required is for the leaders, particularly the HR leaders, to have the leap of faith and bring this to life. We have seen, and I guess Atre talked about, seeing employees as a customer. All these frames that we talked about are being done in the customer environment by all enterprises. So it's just applying some of the same principles with the different, with the changes required to the employee experiences, and you will see some of these new frontiers really making waves. We also saw yesterday a lot of leaders talking about the micro experiments that we are doing. Like, for example, Tata Technologies talked about the chief listening officer being a bot. So those are the examples that will bring some of these new frontiers and new frames to life.
Thanks, Vinod. I think we are up for time, but just to summarize, I think this has been a fascinating discussion spanning from basic principles of driving consistency in employee experience to how organizations can prep for a tech transformation to drive employee experience, to all unique practices that we've learned from different organizations. So thank you very much.